Yeah. So just to sort of hammer down that other point again, it's not an idea, it's a feeling. It's a way of being. You know, it's the way that you're living this moment. That's what it really means to be yourself. So, like, the second that you realize that, and that we all have this, our mind always has this tendency to want to figure everything out. And that's sort of just, it's like its modus operandi, you know, or its point of existence. The mind exists to figure out things, figure out problems. So, of course, we can't fault it for this. However, the problem is that the mind sometimes likes to figure out things that might be beyond, you could say, its scope of investigation. One of those things that is beyond the mind's scope of investigation is our true identity. However, it is something which can be felt. So search for it on that level, and you'll find it. And that which people refer to as the ego, basically, I don't like to talk about it too much because I feel like it gets way more attention than is necessary for something that doesn't really truly even exist anywhere. The truth of the matter is, what the ego is it's, if you have all these ideas about your past and about who you are, you know, like ideas in your mind, it's identifying with those and being like, that's who I am, and pointing to those ideas like that. And then the ego is sort of like, it's like when all those ideas then cohere that you have chosen to identify with or been compelled to identify with cohere together into a whole. Like, then you could say that's your ego. It's like a collection of ideas with emotions attached to them that you believe that you are. And the way that the ego cuts you off from your true nature is when you have this set of ideas that you believe that you are, all of your actions have to cohere with what those ideas say, so that the structure doesn't fall apart. And this is how the ego is in service of limitation. Because let's say I have an idea that part of my identity is that, let's say, I'm not very good at at jump roping. Then that means that it's going to be very hard for me to be good at jump roping because I have this idea within my ego structure about that. So every time I go jump rope, I'm going to deliberately self-defeat myself so that the structure holds. And that's sort of, how the ego is in service of limitation, because in reality you can do whatever you want. But then as soon as we move into this thought form identity known as the ego, with it come all these limitations. But I'll go more into detail about the ego in a later video. It's sort of something I just want to touch on here. And I just want to touch on it to illustrate that the ego is not some problem that needs to be undone, not some problem that needs to be solved, or like something that needs to be defeated even, or like destroyed. No, you can just, when you're waking up, you just sidestep it. You just don't even, the solution is not even to worry about it. Really, that's the best way to do it. Because as soon as you make the ego into a problem, it becomes stronger. It sucks that it works like that, but it's like its main survival mechanism is that if you seek to destroy it or to trim it down, then that in itself becomes an ego. The ego like comes in through the back door, and then it's like a dog chasing its own tail, and it's very easy to get lost in that cycle for a while. So the best solution is just to sidestep that and just to disregard the ego entirely. Really, we all have a level of thought identification until we're in the awakened state. So it's something to just accept as part of being unawakened, and then once you've accepted that, to be like, well, what steps can I take towards waking up? Always have that as your goal. And waking up, here's some other terminology that points towards the same thing. You could say becoming one with the universe. You could say merging with life. You could say discovering your true identity. You could say becoming enlightened, although that one has all this other stuff attached to it, so it's not as good. But all these other signposts, they point to the same place. So in closing this video, what I want to say that's going to help you most is just to keep your eye on the ball. The main way that you get off track in this thing is you start to follow, like you're on the path. Let's say here's you and here's like the awakened state. You're moving there. But then it's like they're distractions, like chasing after the ego, or this or that, or this or that. And then that'll lead you off the path. Inevitably you come back to it, but it's just like you end up taking a more circuitous, sort of curvy route, and it takes more time. And the whole point of this video series is to get you there from A to B as fast as possible. And a great way to stay on the path is to keep your eye on the ball, which is all those terms I just mentioned. Let's just say oneness or waking up. That's your goal. Be very goal-oriented and keep that as your goal. Your goal is not to transcend the ego. Your goal is not to, to have some sort of superhuman power or something. All this stuff, if you set that as your goal, then you start moving towards that. Like, yeah, whatever you intend to achieve, you could say, or whatever goal you intend to reach, all of your actions start sending you there. Like if my intention was, to become a really good pastry chef, then my life would start taking a different course now, and all my actions would send me there. And with awakening, it's the same. However, it's difficult because the distinctions are very subtle. Like, you could say, well, I want to transcend the ego, thinking that, well, that's going to wake me up. But really, then you're just going to get in the ego thing. You're going to get lost in that circle for a while. So it's very important that you keep your eye on the ball. Oneness. Like, examine that concept. See what it means to you. Like, emotionally, it should mean a lot. And if you look at it, it will. So just examine that and feel what it means to you. But like, keep your eye on that and always be heading towards that. Because other distractions are going to come up and they're going to test you. You could say they're going to tempt you, like to pull you off the path. Like, hey, come take a look at this. Very easy to get caught up in that. And you know what? If you do, don't worry about it. It happens to everybody. But the best thing you can do is just keep your eye on the ball throughout your whole awakening process. And of course, it is a process, and this is something to take comfort in. I like to look at it as it's something that it's like 50-50. It's something you're doing, and it's something that's happening to you at the same time. The way I like to look at it is every step I take towards awakening takes one step towards me. So it's sort of like that. So always take comfort in the fact that it's not like you're out there all alone trying to do this thing or figure this thing out. As soon as it becomes your desire to wake up, the gears of the universe start turning and life begins to start working with you. So you have forces of immense, ununderstandable depth and massiveness, like working for you to help wake you up. And this is why once the process has begun, and if you're at a point where you're watching videos such as this, then it is completely certain that it has begun for you. The universe begins to work with you, and that's what really keeps you on the path. Like when you get off, it'll bring you back. Like it's like it has like a tractor beam. So you don't really need to worry about anything on that front, and if things get difficult, just remember you can sit back and relax because the destination is inevitable. You're going to get there. That's the truth. There might be more sidetracking. It might take longer or shorter depending on how you do the ascension process, but you're gonna get there no matter what. And that's one thing keep in mind all the time. All right, I hope you all have a nice day. Much love.